Welcome to This Is My Architecture. I'm Adrian from AWS, and today we're back in Singapore where I'm joined by Bruno from Iflix. Hi, Bruno.
Hi, Adrian.
Glad you can join us today. Tell us a little bit about what Iflix does.
Iflix is an OTT service. We provide SVOD streaming and video on demand, and we also starting to provide live streaming on our platform. So we are across more than 25 markets right now, 2.5 years of existence, and we are now with 10 million accounts currently.
You know, video on demand, streaming, really huge here in Southeast Asia. But one of the most exciting things I heard is that you've secured the rights to the Malaysian Football League, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Those are the first rights of live that we secured. So now Football Malaysia, we're having different leagues across the whole market, but we are also streaming that into other markets, a couple of other markets.
Fantastic. Well, streaming is nothing new for Iflix, right? But tell us a little bit about some of the reporting capabilities that you've built in the past.
So in the past, we used to collect all the player events, but also all the internal events from our customers and all the information from our customers. And we were pipelining that into our Kinesis stream and getting the data processed and archived into S3. So we are using Kinesis and a couple of EC2s with Python and Node.js application, and having all the data sitting into S3, so the raw data. And on the reporting side, we were leveraging Redshift as our data warehouse, but Redshift was also used to do the ETL. So we were having and putting a lot of pressure on Redshift, sending a lot of raw data, and then doing maybe 2 to 3 to 4 layers of aggregation within Redshift. And then Redshift was used, so then with our BI tool, that is Tableau, that is sitting on an EC2. Yeah. And we were providing that information to our stakeholders, all the different business units.
So a pretty common pattern that we see, EC2 being used, obviously to do some transformation of the data. Tell us a little bit about what you're storing in S3 and Redshift. What's the difference?
So the difference historically was having all the raw data in S3. And Redshift was doing all the heavy lifting of ETL and also storing raw and also the aggregated data. And now we have we moved to a new approach recently where we're gonna provide in S3 all the data, the raw obviously, but also the aggregated layer. And we're gonna move to decoupling the storage and compute and make it life easier for Redshift.
So you got source data, resultant data. So S3 is basically now your data lake. Now, when we look at the number of additional users, a lot of them, millions of them, that are going to be, demanding your service, what have you had to build that is different?
So here, as I mentioned earlier, we need to build differently because we want to decouple the compute and the storage. And we want to do that also to leverage better big data capabilities, leveraging Spark and Presto. And basically, this would save us a lot of time on the ETL. Right. Currently, to give you an idea, Redshift, we're doing like 6 to 10 hours of ETL within Redshift. And for just one stream of data, so one type of data, we managed with the same logic to reduce by 40% the ETL for just one portion of the ETL. Wow. So with Spark, we're actually now enabling way more real time, and we're going to decrease, I hope, by
So I really want to dig into this, but first of all, tell us why you've got all this in a separate VPC.
So why a separate VPC? Because we have a partner that we onboarded that is called Qball, and Qball basically is a data management platform that sits in another AWS account. And we use a Bastion IAM role to enable the connection between our account and their account. And Qball is here to provide an IDE and to manage our different instances on the basis of personas and roles. So we can allocate within their IDE resource to specific roles such as engineering or data science or business analyst, and they can have access to specific compute capabilities or data retrieval capabilities.
Great, so using a lot of our best practices, using cross-account IAM roles, your data is staying in your account, so all of these clusters are spun up in your account. Now, I'm seeing obviously Hadoop here, Spark, Presto. Why do you need them all?
Well, we need them all because, as I say, we have the data in S3, our raw data. So what we're doing is that just to isolate that data from the production environment, because some of the S3 data that is sitting here is leveraged by our product engineering and not by our data engineering layer. So we isolating and creating a replica of that data into that VPC. And what we do is that we create some kind of back and forth here where we have Hadoop or Hive as our meta store that allows to then get access to all the data in S3, our catalog, and the different roles then can access that data. They have visibility on it, and we leverage Spark in the case of data engineer to do the ETL and using also Airflow, orchestrate the ETL and push the data aggregated into S3. And we also allow data scientists or business analysts to leverage Presto to query the Hive Metastore and get access to that data to be able to or create models or create some analysis.
Great. So when your users are ready to kick off some jobs, they're interfacing directly with Qubole where there's profiles, I assume, that are already set up for each of these types of workloads. Now, are you starting them, stopping them? How often are you running them?
So what's good into Qubole is that in the configuration we can put and enable and allocate certain resource, and a data scientist might not have as many nodes on Spark than a data engineer, and so this allows us to spin up and down, so we can have access to spot instances, so spin up and down when the job is running, and also manage the cost tightly and get also the cost reduced.
So you hit one of my hot topics, spot instances. So Qubole can actually use our AWS spot instances to be able to really reduce and crunch that cost even further, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, great use of services. What I also love is the fact that if any of those workloads change, you can resize those clusters to be able to get your jobs done even a lot quicker. Fantastic. So tell us what's next for your architecture.
So what's next is leveraging new tools to enable that real-time reporting element. So what we want is to get to work with Kinesis Firehose. So we started to do a POC with that. On the ETL side, let's say for the last layer of ETL, leveraging Glue that just got GA in Singapore. So we want to use it for our ETL. And then the last one would be also Redshift Spectrum, where we want to also get the data from S3 to Redshift, the data that is the hot data aggregated via Spark, and enable
even more cost savings. I can definitely see. Bruno, I think you're kicking goals with this fantastic architecture. Thank you for sharing it with us today. And thank you for watching This Is My Architecture.